Zubimendi. I think it's like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. Technical difficulties there. Don't know why it took so long to run the Ian Wright thing, but nonetheless, people deluded. I'm back again as usual. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, of course, good night. Appreciative to you lot tuned in. Obviously, it's transfer season, and 1 week, you know, every day, better yet, draws another player linked to Arsenal and any clubs you lot support. Let's see what's concerning Arsenal Football Club, where we're speaking on Havertz, indirectly on Caicedo. Lavia's been thrown back into the mix. Arteta's been linked with Paris Saint-Germain. Half of 99.9% of these things are BS, people, but it provides us with great talking points. With that being said, don't forget throughout the course of this video to let me know your thoughts. Slap the like button on your way in or when you're watching this vid, and obviously turn on your notifications, smash the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and check out the other videos. But let's get into what you're here for today. Arsenal are considering a bid for Southampton wonder kid Lavia, but face competition from Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United for the Belgium international. Now, it seems like every club of all teams are keeping their cards close to their chest. Now, it does seem like we're getting into full swing with the transfer market, but it's still very early. And you hear he's got a price tag of 51 million. Southampton have been relegated. I'm sure he wants to play in the top division. Next year, Manchester City have a buyback clause which becomes active. And also indirectly, wherever Lavia goes that isn't Manchester City, apologies for saying United, they probably have a sell-on clause. So maybe that affects what's going on. Where Declan Rice and Caicedo were concerned, probably naive to assume we get one, let alone both of them footballers. And it was probably going to be a Lavia and a Rice or something of that nature. You know, if not, we need to bring Zubimendi. But as you lot know, Arsenal are looking to bolster their options in midfield in the transfer window. They've now identified Saint Star Lavia as a potential new signing. The Gunners are also keen on adding West Ham's Declan Rice to the squad. We have previously been linked with Livramento of Southampton. We've been linked with Kyle Walker-Peters. Maitland-Niles' contract has run down. Farewell to him, but he did go to Southampton on loan. So maybe we've got a decent relationship with them. So I have to see, really. But as you know, the buzzword in today's day and age is potential. Lavia is at the early stage, the elementary stage, more or less, or elementary is not right. He's probably in primary school, you know, if it was a footballing terms. He's got the scope to be a really good player. He's in his early 20s. In fact, I think he's still a teenager. So Southampton know they've got an asset, and maybe had they have stayed in the division, he probably wouldn't have departed this summer. But with them going down, it's an avenue for many clubs to explore. Everybody needs centre mids. Arsenal are considering a bid for Southampton's Lavia as they look to bolster their midfield in the summer transfer window. The Gunners are looking for reinforcements in the middle of the pitch and have been pursuing a number of different options in recent weeks. The likes of Caicedo and Declan Rice have been on the shortlist, with the latter close to completing a deal. Every minute we're close to this Declan Rice thing, and I hope we are. But for me, until I see him holding a shirt, who knows, people. And now Mikel Arteta's side have turned their attentions to Belgium international Lavia, who could be available for cheap in the wake of Southampton's relegation. What is cheap? You know, you might even be relying on Declan Rice to kind of force a move to Arsenal. You're relying on Lavia to make it abundantly clear to Southampton that he wants to keep it moving. Some reports say him and Saka actually share the same agent. Obviously, Saka is our player. We've just negotiated a new deal for him. So maybe our good relations, maybe with Southampton, with his agent, and maybe when we're talking about Saka, just light-hearted conversations around Lavia, people. Lavia gave a great audition, when we last played Southampton, showing his physicality and his technical level, as did Declan Rice in the draw at Upton Park as well. And anytime we play Brighton and Caicedo, he seems to play quite well. So I don't know what cheap is, but again, Southampton probably won't be in a rush to sell him because Liverpool, Chelsea, Manchester United are all in the battle for the signature. Now, we don't know if he's a top priority for half of these clubs. Liverpool have been linked with Thuram, Gravenberch, Gabby Veiga, and a couple of other players, and probably other additions that he needs to bring in. Chelsea have more been linked with Caicedo and a couple of others. Man United, it seems like their priorities is up front as well as in midfield, and definitely Mason Mount deal. So I don't know if Lavia is something these clubs, including ours, will revisit if and when the time's right, people. But it says we're considering a bid. It hasn't said a bid has gone through. It hasn't said a bid's been accepted, so the player can't have a medical, and ultimately he's not an Arsenal player yet. Apparently the 19-year-old impressed, you know, in his debut season at St. Mary's, despite the fact that they got relegated. Still got a lot to learn, you know. If you watch the last game between Southampton and Liverpool, you saw him kind of playing in that 6 role and kind of gifting the ball in a dangerous area, basically setting up a Liverpool player. it was expected he'd go Liverpool if you read reports, people. Apparently, Granit Xhaka has agreed to join Leverkusen once the Declan Rice deal is completed. You know, Lavia's played 34 times in all comps last season, so he isn't the most experienced. There is still scope to grow and improve and get better. This article is also, we're going to get into Kai Havertz, but it said we're also hopeful of luring Chelsea's Kai Havertz to the Emirates, but now face late competition from Bayern Munich. Some fans are probably hoping that he just goes to Bayern Munich. The German international was set for Arsenal, but with talks stalling over a 70 million asking price, Bayern have made an approach. He is seen by Bayern as a cheap alternative to Vlahovic and Kolomani, people. So we'll have to see, really. Chelsea have also got an interest in a player we was linked with in Gabby Vega, who has a £34 million release clause. So, and Chelsea also have to deal with a number of outgoings. So we'll have to see. Apparently, The Guardian has said something in relation to Lavia. Again, Arsenal target Southampton's Lavia for midfield rebuild. We'll have to see. We're targeting him, people, after deciding to leave the path clear for Chelsea to push forward for Brighton's Caicedo. Mikel Arteta wants to sign 2 midfielders, and as we know, his first priority is Declan Rice. West Ham are holding out for at least 100 million. We've seen an opening bid of 80 million plus add-ons allegedly rejected, people. Once again, Arsenal will need to make the 24-year-old their record signing, and doing so is expected to stop them from entering the race for Caicedo. Brighton rejected Arsenal's £70 million bid in January and want close to 100 million. Chelsea had an inquiry rebuffed in January and are leading the race, but talks with Brighton are moving slowly. Now, the Romanos and everyone of this world have actually said Chelsea bidded a couple of weeks ago for Caicedo, so maybe they were a lot further on the case than what is said in the media. So as I always say to you lot, what is said by these journalists and all these things and what is actually happening in the footballing world, which we don't actually have, the luxury of seeing, are two different things, which is why I keep saying the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. Until a player is holding the shirt, it just provides talking points. And don't forget to get yours in and subscribe and smash the like button, people. So we'll have to see. And it also says Chelsea are pushing to sign Nicholas Jackson. The 21-year-old's done quite well for Villarreal up front. But staying on course with Arsenal, Arteta has switched focus to other players and talks have been held over moving for Lavia. The 19-year-old is likely to leave Southampton after their relegation from the Premier League and is valued at 45 million. Chelsea have registered an interest in the Belgium, who has been watched by Man United and Liverpool, but there is a growing belief he'll end up at Arsenal if it remains to be seen whether Southampton will hold firm on their asking price, with Arsenal likely to push for a lower fee, which is true. Maybe you could loan them a couple of players. Brooke Norton-Coffey might be able to help them in the Championship, provided they lose Kyle Walker-Peters. I don't think Livramento will leave purely because they've stuck with him with injury, people. As we know, people, he was sold for 10.5 million quid from Man City last summer. They've inserted a buyout clause, or buyback clause, better yet, and they have the luxury of probably getting a percentage if he isn't brought back to the Etihad. Arsenal are expected to make space in midfield by allowing Xhaka to go to Leverkusen, as we already know. Lokonga's days are probably numbered. We know there's a shortage in midfield, and as you know, we've had our first bid rejected for Kai Havertz, people. Apparently, Chelsea are also looking at Anana as well. So maybe that gives us a benefit for Lavia. It's understood Caicedo wants to move to Chelsea, but the club expect Brighton to make negotiations tough. As you know, Chelsea have been made aware it would smooth negotiations if they included their 20-year-old centre-back Levi Cole. Will be stupid if they did that. Absolutely stupid. And Conor Gallagher could be someone that's floated over there, people. So we'll have to see what's being said. Apparently, Sky Germany is saying Havertz been told Arsenal is very confident to sign both him and Declan Rice, despite the fact that Chelsea has rejected the first offer. Arteta is pushing for Havertz. Arsenal are in advanced stages with both players. There's been no offer from Bayern Munich for Shai Havertz yet. This article has said where to submit a second bid, and apparently Crystal Palace have joined the race to sign Balogun, people, which, although you don't want to see Balogun go to a Premier League team because, he's been linked with Inter, Leipzig, all of these clubs. Surely the Premier League teams are the only ones that will probably overpay because everybody's getting money. Arsenal remain in discussions with Chelsea over a deal for Kai Havertz and are expected to submit an improved offer after seeing their opening proposal rebuffed by the Gunners. I think they mean by Chelsea. Talks have escalated quickly between the parties this week after Arsenal approached the Blues to outline their desire to sign the German international, who has 2 years remaining on his deal. He's understood to have told Chelsea earlier this month that he was open to the prospect of a new challenge, and apparently there was an inquiry by Real Madrid. So tentative interest from Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. Arsenal seem to want to get this done. And it also looks like there'll be more outgoings where Chelsea are concerned. I know all the talk is around Kovacic to City, Mason Mount to United, Kai Havertz to Arsenal, but Kante's more or less sealed his move to the Middle East, and there's talk around Hakim Ziyech going over there as well. So we'll have to see where this goes. Chelsea are willing to accept considerably lower than the 70 to 75 million valuation that has been widely reported should Havertz fail to extend his contract, something that now looks out of the question, people. Apparently, similar to Declan Rice, the sticking point is Chelsea, much like West Ham, would like the majority of that figure in guaranteed payments as opposed to add-ons such as winning the Prem or the Champions League. Talks have been moving smoothly between the two parties, and Arsenal are expected to submit and improve bid in due course. Again, apparently reports in Germany suggest Bayern Munich have also entered the race, which may encourage the Gunners to move speedily. So we'll have to see. Apparently he's thought to be keen to move to the Emirates after 3 frustrating spells at Stamford Bridge, where he's obviously won the champs. Chelsea also remain in discussions with both Manchester City and Manchester United over the futures, or better yet, the departures or the signings of Mateo Kovacic and Mason Mount. If Arsenal are to execute the double acquisitions of Rice and Havertz, respectively, outgoings could prove integral to additional spending this summer. Arsenal are also due to hold talks with the agent of Balogun, Eddie Bonsu, who previously managed Nelson and I think had Saka under his wing at one point, and I'm sure negotiated the move for Sancho over there to Man United, and I don't know about now, but had Kyle Edwards really. As we know, Balogun's been linked with Crystal Palace, as stated. He is expected to leave Arsenal this summer to pursue more regular football, people. Crystal Palace have entered the race. Obviously, it's not quite a team fighting for Europe, but you still stay in London. It's a great club. It's a club that us Arsenal fans, if it's not Arsenal, you want to see Palace do as great as they can. And they need a striker. Really, you got Mateta, AU, Balogun. If you can't take their role, forget about anything, people. As we know, they're not alone. But what I would say, Arsenal haven't had talks to clarify Balogun's future, at least to our fans, and everybody's interested. You've heard AC Milan, Inter Milan, Leipzig, Crystal Palace, Werder Bremen, a whole bunch of clubs all over the continent of Europe. But who has put some offers on the table? Who has got into negotiations with Arsenal? Not indirect conversations with agents and stuff. Who's put an offer on the table that can be accepted or rejected? So for all the talk of Balogun, contracted until 2025. I would love for him to get an opportunity. I would love for him to actually sign a new deal and maybe go out on loan. If he makes it clear he wants to leave, you look at him, you look at Austin Trusty of Birmingham, that was at Birmingham on loan. These are players that have had decent loan spells. So sell them while their stock is somewhat high. Put buyback clauses if possible, sell on clauses, reinvest that money to help us in the Champions League and the Prem and everything else next season, people. Apparently, the Inter Milan sporting director was in London. Now, that could be in relation to Lautaro Martinez, who's been linked with Chelsea, Lukaku, or anyone else. He could have been sightseeing. So we'll have to see in relation to Balogun, folks. Apparently, PSV sporting advisor, who could lose his job for what it's worth, Campos, has held talks with Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta, but is pessimistic about a deal. Arteta, you've got no reason to leave for PSG. You know all about projects. They're at the elementary stage, and you're probably going to have to get rid of a lot of players. Messi's gone, Neymar could go, Verratti could go, Mbappe, we don't know what's happening there. Arteta is contracted until 2025. You'd imagine he gets a new deal, and if and when that comes out. It's nice for me to see. Obviously, it gives you goosebumps, but everybody wants good managers and good players like we have at this moment. But I skipped to the bulk of this article, and there has been a lot of people linked with the PSG job. Jose Mourinho, today Nagelsmann, and what's his name, Luis Enrique. Google Translate, I don't know if it's helped us out, but it said another track leads across the channel to London and to the Spaniard 41-year-old Mikel Arteta, a former Paris Saint-Germain player, which we got to remember as well. Apparently, the Arsenal coach is the track of Luis Campos. The PSG sporting advisor and Arteta have spoken to each other in recent weeks, but the chances that the discussions lead to a contract are almost nil. First, because Arteta will play in the Champions League next season, feels good about the Gunners project. And to be fair with you, for stuff that you get sacked at Paris Saint-Germain or other clubs, you might be able to keep your job at Arsenal. He feels good about the Arsenal project. Yeah, imagine we're finally back in the Champions League, finally got multifunctional players that can play there, finally got exciting players, finally got, to a degree, the club, the players, the sporting director, the manager, the fans, the owner, all on the same side. It's a lot more of a rosy picture than when he initially walked in the Emirates. So, sometimes they say you should quit when you're at the top, and maybe Arsenal have hit their pinnacle. I don't know. Obviously, we haven't, but devil's advocate stuff. And then it's also said, then because Campos' role, even if he's consulted, will not be a decision maker, unlike last season when he chose Galtier, while others at the club insisted on Thiago Motta. So take that with a pinch of salt. We've covered that. Apparently, negotiations for key midfield target Caicedo are ongoing. It's interesting to note Caicedo and Nicholas Jackson share the same agent, so that obviously indirectly affects us, but has something to do with Chelsea as well. In relation to Zubamendi, Xavi considers a top-level pivot vital and wants the club to go all out for Zubamendi. The technical staff continue to see options to sign him, despite the loyalty shown by the player with Real Sociedad. It seems that he wants to stay at least for another year playing in the Champions League. Victor Rog, who was previously linked with us and someone I'd love at the Emirates, apparently it's more or less done with him to Barcelona. Make of that what you will. Quickly, while we're here, is there any other emerging news that's come out? Okay. Darmashef could be wassing it. Arsenal remain in talks with West Ham and Chelsea over Declan Rice and Kai Havertz. We're going to skip past that, people. Apparently, West Ham want 120 million and would consider accepting a lower offer that includes a player. We all hear Manchester City are lurking in the backgrounds and Manchester United have an interest in him. So I have to see. I think with this Caicedo thing is that, if Chelsea can't get a deal done and Brighton want to, deal with us in a way that suits them, we'll go back for him. But we'll have to see. Reports had suggested Arsenal were targeting Southampton's Lavia, leaving Chelsea a clear path to go after Caicedo. However, Sky Sports News has been told the Gunners are keeping an eye on the Brighton midfielder. Keeping an eye probably just means we're keeping an eye on developments with Chelsea. I still think he goes to Chelsea, and I've said that before the season was done. But hopefully that's good news for us. Arsenal have seen their first bid rejected for Kai Havertz. As we know, Chelsea ideally want to keep Havertz, but the forward is keen on a move to Arsenal. Allegedly, yesterday it was said, reports out of Ecuador, the homeland of Caicedo, Arsenal withdrew from the Caicedo race because Brighton are looking for more than 80 million, which Chelsea are willing to pay, while the Gunners, with the priority they have with Rice, would pay more of the 100 million and hence cannot pay the fee requested by Brighton for the midfielder. Google Translate didn't help us, but make of that what you will. Once again, Arsenal's interest in Lavia is real. Chelsea have met with the player's father. His agent, who renewed Saka's deal with Arsenal, also has Lavia as a client, people. Romano has said official bid to follow for Kai Havertz, as personal terms won't be an issue. The player is giving his green light to Arsenal. Chelsea asking price has always been 75 million, but they are flexible. Talks continue, people. Timothy Cassandra has been linked with Juventus, and apparently he's not really that high up the priority list for Arsenal, people. Apparently they want 15 million euros for him. There's been no bid from Arsenal. Juventus have opened talks with him. Inter Milan want Balogun to replace Edin Dzeko. So before it was, Juventus want him to replace Vlahovic. Inter Milan want him to replace Edin Dzeko. Napoli want him to replace Osimhen, who could move and maybe does move. Everyone's going to get linked, but we'll have to see. Chelsea have turned down the opening bid. Talks continue and the players keen on the move. Saliba, again, is apparently when he gets back from his off-season holidays, he'll commit his future until 2027 with the option until 2028. Bayern are monitoring Kai Havertz. I kind of want to get away from Caicedo, Havertz and Declan Rice. We're saying the same things at this point. Partey's been linked with a move away. Whether that happens is something else. We've been relinked with Elise. We've been linked with a bunch of players. Lavia, Elise, Zubamendi, Gundogan, Caicedo, Declan Rice, Xavi Simons, Vlahovic tentatively, Chiesa tentatively, Ruben Neves. So yeah, man, Cancelo, again, talk of a 35 million pound bid. Whether that correlates is a completely different thing. So we'll have to see. You lot, let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment and subscribe. Have a great weekend and I'll see you lot soon.
You always use that accurate red man defending. I think it's like